Hi, my name's Leo, and I got 800 on the math section of the SAT using pretty much just Desmos. So let's get to it. This is Math Module 2 using just Desmos.
Number 1. The line graph shows the estimated number of chipmunks in a state park on April 1st of each year from 1989 to 1999. Based on the line graph, in which year was the estimated number of chipmunks in the state park the greatest? So looking at the graph, we see that it peaks in 1994. And because it peaks, we know that that's when the number of chipmunks is the greatest. And so our answer is just B. Number 2. A fish swam a distance of 5,104 yards. How far did the fish swim in miles? And we know that 1 mile is 1,760 yards. So we can kind of note that 1 mile equals 1,760 yards. And what this does is we just know that we can just divide 5,104 by 1,760 to get the total amount of miles, total amount of miles we swam. And that would just be B, 2.9. Number 3, which expression is equivalent to 12x cubed minus 5x cubed? So with this one, it's pretty simple. You know, we just have two parts of the equation that have x cubed in it. And what this allows us to do is we know that we can just factor out x cubed. And we all know 12 minus 5 is 7. So 7 times x cubed would be our answer, or C. And we can kind of prove this by just turning on and off the function, and we see that it lines up. Question number 4, what is the solution xy to the given system of equations? By plotting both, we see that x plus y equals 18 and 5y equals x. And we see that the 2 points intersect at 15, 3. And so obviously our answer would just then be A. Question number 5, the point 8,2 in the xy plane is a solution to which of the following systems of inequalities? 8, 2 is in the first quadrant, and what do we know about the x quadrant? In the x quadrant, x is greater than 0 and y equals greater than 0, and so our answer is A. But obviously, I just want to show you this. X is greater than 0, y is greater than 0. The point is in both of our areas, and therefore we for sure know that our answer is A. Question number 6, x minus 5 equals 10. What is one possible solution of the equation? We can kind of just graph this. X minus 5 absolute value equals 10. Zooming in at our positive solution, we get 15. So we know that's one of our solutions. That's our answer. Question number 7, the function gives the total number of people on a company or tree with x managers. What is the total number of people on a company or tree with 7 managers? So we can kind of write f of x equals 7x plus 1. And we know that x is the amount of managers. So on this particular retreat, we have 7 managers. So 7 is x. So instead of f of x, it's f of 7. And what's nice about Desmos is that it's built in where if you ask for the point in the function, it gives it to you. F of 7 is 50, so our answer would just be 50. Question number 8, which table gives the values of x and their corresponding values of h of x for the given function h? And we get 4 tables and h, which is x squared minus 3, and each table has a value of x and its corresponding h of x. For this one's easy, we can just plot h of x equals x squared minus 3. And we could always look at our intercepts at x of 1 if you really don't want to do the math in your head. But you could also do what we did last time and write just h of 1, h of 2, and h of 3. And we see it's -2, 1, and 6, and so our answer is just B, because it's the only table that works. Question number 9, the function f is defined by f of x equals 270 times 0.1x to the power of x. What is the value of f of 0? Once again, we're just going to be doing this a lot. You can just always just look at that point in the function. So f of 0 is 270, so our answer is D. Question number 10. To estimate the proportion of a population that has a certain characteristic, a random sample is selected from the population. Based on the sample, it is estimated the proportion of the population has a characteristic is 0.49, with an associated margin of error of 0.04. Which of the following is the most appropriate conclusion about the proportion of the population that has the characteristic? So, since the estimated proportion of the population with the characteristic is 0.49, and the margin is 0.04, we know that it's 0.49 plus minus 0.04. Right, and since Desmos doesn't have this built in, we can look at this in separate cases. So 0.49 plus 0.04 would just be 0.53, and 0.49 minus 0.04. The typo is just 0.45. So we know that the population has to be between 0.45 and 0.53, so the answer is A. Question number 11, a moving truck can tow a trailer as the combined weight of the trailer, so let's call it X, in the boxes, so let's call it Y, is no more than 4,600 pounds. So x plus y is less than or equal to 4,600. So we get this big region. What is the maximum number of boxes this truck can tow in a trailer with a weight of 500 pounds if each box weighs 120 pounds? So in this case, our x is, let's say, our trailer. So instead of x, it would be 500. And instead of y being the total weight, it would just be each box. So since we know each box is 120, it would be 120y. And zooming out, we see that the maximum value of y that works would be, I think, 34.1667. So we know that 35 doesn't work. It would be too much. So we know that the highest value that does work would be 34. So our answer is A. Question number 12. What is the positive solution of the given equation? Negative 4x squared minus 7x equals negative 36. We could just plot this again and look at our positive solutions. And clicking on our positive solution, we see that it would be 2.25, and 2.25 is just 9 over 4. If you don't believe me, you can check using Desmos. 9 over 4 is 2.25, so our answer is B. Question number 13. The table summarizes the distribution of color and shapes for 100 tiles of equal area. If one of these tiles is selected at random, what is the probability of selecting a red tile? And it asks for you to express your answer as a decimal or a fraction, not as a percent. And looking at this, we're picking a red tile, so it doesn't matter if we pick a square or a pentagon as long as it's red. So what we're going to be looking at is the total amount of red tiles, which is 30, and our total amount of tiles, which is 100. So our total answer is 30 over 100, which is 0.3. You can write that, or 3 over 10. Question number 14. For the given function f, the graph of y equals f of x and the xy plane is parallel to line j. What is the slope of line j? So f of x is 2x plus 3, and we know that the thing about parallel lines is their slopes are the same. If you don't know this, though, you can kind of just play around with it. Y equals 2x, y equals 3x, and we see that the only one that works is 2x. And obviously, like I said, the slopes are the same. So 2 would be our answer. Moving on to question number 15. A proposal for a new library was included on an election ballot. A radio show stated that 3 times as many people voted in favor of the proposal as people who voted against it. A social media post reported that 15,000 more people voted in favor of the proposal than voted against it. Based on these data, how many people voted against the proposal? So for this question, we just kind of have to understand what it's asking. So let's give these variable names. So let's say x is the amount of people that voted against it, and y is the amount of people that voted in favor of it. So you'll see me write this down, but then from here we know that 3x is equal to y, because 3 times as many people voted in favor, and x plus 15,000 would be equal to y. So let's write our two systems. 3x equals y, and right away we see out of these two equations, we see that if we zoom out, they intersect at a point, and our answer would just be x. That's the people who voted against it, so 7,500. So our answer would just be A, 7,500. Moving on to question number 16. In the figure, lines M and N are parallel. If x equals 6k plus 13 and y equals 8k minus 29, what is the value of z? So actually, I have a YouTube short about this one, so I've already done it. But we know that x equals 6k plus 13 and y equals 8k minus 29. So important things to note. The lines are parallel and x equals to y. And this is because the lines are the angles are reflective, right? So, I mean, you can quickly look at the graph and we'll see that x equals to y. And it's also important that x plus z is 1800. And this is because the two angles are complementary, or supplementary, I guess, because of parallel lines. And like I said, x equal to y. And with Desmos, it's always better to rewrite all your variables as x for systems of equations. So we know that 6x plus 13 equals to 8x minus 29. This is to find k, by the way. And doing this, we see that we have this green line, and it's an intersection at 21, 0. And that means that in our original equation, k is just 21. And what this allows us to do is just find our original angle x and our original angle y using our k equals 21 value. So substituting that back in, we get 6 times 21 plus 13 equals to 139. And plugging this back into our equation, we get z equals to 180 minus 139, or 41. So our answer in the end is just C. Wasn't too bad. Question number 17. In the given equation, p is a constant. The equation has no solution. What is the value of p? So negative 3x plus 21px equals 84. And what we can quickly do is just factor this. So we can just remove the x and get negative 3 plus 21p times x equals 81. And what's nice about 84. And what's nice about this is we know that the only time it doesn't exist is when 21p minus 3 equals 0. Let's rewrite p as x, so we get 21x equals 3, and we see that the only value it works is x equals 1 over 7, so our answer is b. Question number 18, the function f is defined by the given equation. For what value of x does f of x reach its minimum? So for questions like these, before you would really have to understand the quadratic formula or vector points of minimas, and you'd really have to know a lot. You'd have to memorize some stuff. But here you just plot it and look at our bottom value. It's negative 1.5. So our answer is D. That's the only one that works. Question number 19. The function f of x equals 1/9 times x minus 7 squared plus 3. So let's quickly just write that out. And we know that this gives the metal ball's height above the ground f of x in inches, x seconds after it started moving on a track, where 0 is less than x is less than or equal to 10. Which of the following is the best interpretations of the vertex of the graph of y equals f of x in the xy plane? So it says a lot of mumbo jumbo, but all we have to do is just see if the answers make sense. So for A, the metal ball's minimum height was 3 inches above the ground. So looking at our little parabola, we see that our minimum is at 7,3, and our y would be our height. So we know that A is right. So we know our answer is A. But just in case if you don't feel like you trust that, we can kind of check our other answers. So B is obviously wrong because our minimum height is 3, and C and D are wrong because it started at 8.4 inches above the ground. So right away, we know our answer is A. We don't have to do any more work. Question number 20. In triangle JKL, cosine of k equals 24 over 51. In angle J is a right angle. What is the value of cosine of L? So for this one, I would recommend doing it on paper, but for the sake of the video, I am just going to do it on Desmos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show a quick triangle. This is kind of just for me, actually, just to kind of see the angles. And we know that the angle J is a right angle. So at the origin, it would be J. It would be JKL. And cosine of, and what's the most important for this question is because cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, if the two angles that aren't the right angle in a right triangle, if we take the cosine of one of them, it would be equal to the sine of the other. So that means that cosine of k equals sine of L. And this is super important because this basically solves us the question. So we have the sine of L now, and the sine of L would be equal to 24 over 51. I wrote x because, like I said, it's always easier, but x is just namesake for L, essentially. And actually what you could do here, and I didn't do, but you could always use arc sine, if you know what that is, and that's inverse sine. And what you can do is you can find the angle and then just take the cosine of it. Or you can use the identity sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. If you forget it, you can maybe just do some Desmos testing, and you'll see that it's just always true. So now since we have sine of L, we can just do 1 minus 24 over 51 squared, and that would be cosine of L squared. You can see I write this out. And from here it's easy. So we have our value of cosine of L squared, so all we have to do is take the square root of it, right, to find our just regular cosine of L. And we see that the square root of it is just 0.8823 or 0.8824 if you round correctly. So that would be our answer. And that's it. That's all you have to do for this question. Question number 21. In the given equation, b is a positive integer. The equation has no real solutions. What is the greatest value of p? So here we're going to utilize the slider option, but what I didn't realize is you obviously can't use the slider option if you have the equation set to 0. That doesn't make sense. This wouldn't work. So I tried to find the tool for a second here, but what's important is you cannot have it equal to something, and then automatically it asks if you want to use a slider. And what we're going to do when we get the slider is see for what values of a, I changed it to a because I thought that would fix it, but for what values of a the equation has solutions and does not have solutions, and see what we can see. So right away I moved it around, but because we're very zoomed in, we won't see the graph, so if you zoom out, you'll see it's down there. So obviously we see that we have to increase our slider value. So right away I increased it to like 1,000 just to get us somewhere. And increasing it, we see right away, right? For some reason, at some point we get some real solutions. So we have to see at what point do we get those. So we can zoom in, and we can kind of just start decreasing. So a equals 52, we see that we have one solution, but it says no real solutions. So we have to go down even more. So a equals 51 would be our next highest positive integer, and so our final answer would just be 51, because 52 doesn't work. Moving on to question number 22. If the new graph of three linear equations is created by using a system of equations shown in the equation x plus 4y equals negative 16, how many solutions xy will the resulting system of three equations have? So we're just gonna plot our everything, and we see that we have negative 4 comma 8 as one of our points, or negative 4 comma 5, sorry, and 8 comma 2. And plotting these two functions, we see that we have a line which has a rise of 3 and a run of 12, or a rise of negative 3, sorry. And what this means is our slope is negative 0.25, because rise over run is just slope. That's another way of saying slope. And then looking at our original equation, we see that the slope for this would just be y equals negative 4th minus x over 4. So our m would be negative 1 over 4 for this equation. And we see that right away the two lines are parallel, right? So we know that the two lines, since they're parallel, since they have the same slope, parallel lines never intersect. We know that they'll never intersect, so they'll never have a real solution. So for this one, our answer would just be 0, because the two lines will never intersect. Moving on, question number 23. The function f gives the value in dollars of a certain piece of equipment after x months of use. If the value of the equipment decreases each year by p% of its value the preceding year, what is the value of p? So f of x equals 5470 times 0.64 to the power of x over 12. We know that it asks each year what happens to the value, and a year has 12 months, and f of x is in terms of months. So what's important here is to look at f of 0 compared to f of 12, and we can quickly just divide these two values to see what happened to our original value. So we see that 3500.8 over 5470 is 0.64, and times by 100 to get the percent is 64%. So originally it was 100%, now it's 64%. So that means we decreased by 36%. And another way of doing this more intuitively is we can look at our original equation, and we see that it's x over 12. So we know that every 12 years it's going to be to the power of 1. So essentially we're multiplying by 0.64. So we're decreasing by 0.36%, 0.36, which is 36%. So our answer would just be C. Moving on to question number 24. The dot plot represents the 15 values in dataset A. Dataset B is created by adding 56 to each of the values in dataset A. Which of the following correctly compares the medians and the ranges of datasets A and B? So instead of 22, we're going to add 56. So now we're going to get 78. So instead of 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, we're going to get 78, 79, 80, 81, and 82. Sorry. And what this means for us is that the median will change, because instead of having low values, we're going to add 56 to the median, essentially. However, a range is just the highest value of the set minus the lowest value of the set. It's the range between the highest and the lowest. And the range originally was 26 minus 22, right, which is 4. And our range now is 82 minus 78, which is 4. So obviously our range will stay the same and our median will change. So our answer is C. The median will change, and it will be greater, and the range will be equal to. So for number 25, the equation x squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 49 represents circle A. Circle B is obtained by shifting circle A down 2 units in the xy plane. Which of the following equations represents circle B? So we can quickly graph circle A, because we are given the equation, and we know that we have to shift it down by 2 units. Now, when I did this, I forgot that you have to add to. If you have to add or subtract to go down, you have to add, right? But the thing is, I didn't know. But what's great about Desmos is you don't have to know, because look, I graph it here and I graph it wrong and see it shifts it up, and I see that right away and I'm like, shoot. So then instead of subtracting 2, I just add 2, so it'd be y plus 1. And look at this, it shifts it down by 2. and we can zoom in and see it shifts down by 2. And now for our answer, it would literally just be the red circle equation, so D. And this just shows how great Desmos is, because even if you forget a formula of a circle, you just go and you check it yourself, and that's it. That's all you have to do. And here we quickly see our answer is D, and we can quickly move on to question number 26. Question number 26 asks the two identical rectangular prisms each have a height of 90 centimeters. The base of each prism is a square, and the surface area of each prism is k centimeters squared. If the prisms are glued together along a square base, the resulting prism has a surface area of 92/47 k centimeters squared. What is the side length in centimeters of each square base? Now, what's important here is I would heavily recommend doing this mostly on paper. I, once again, was trying to do it only on Desmos. But you have two rectangular prisms, and essentially what's happening is they're glued together. So if we had two separate ones, our total surface area would be 2k. But because we glue them together, we miss two of the square sides, right? Because you see this is no longer accounted for, right? So instead, we're going to have 92/47, which means the two square sides together have an area of 2/47. That means one square side has an area of 1/47k. So in these questions, like I've always said, you always have to rewrite it as y and x. So we know that k is, let's just say k is y, and let's call x the side length of a square base. So we know that y, x squared, right, one square base would be 1/47 times y, right? And that's just our top equation. And now let's just find the total surface area of one rectangular prism, and that would be 90x would be one side, so there's four sides, so it'd be 360 x plus the two square sides, so plus 2x squared, and this is just equal to just y, not 1/47y, just y. Now for this, it'd be easier to just substitute an x, so we're just going to multiply both sides by 47 here, and we get 47x squared equals y. So substituting this back into the other equation, we get this 47x squared. We can factor out an x everywhere just to make the answer easier to find. So 360 plus 2x equals 47x, and we see our answer is just 8. So our final answer is B. And finally, our final question, number 27, 2 times p% greater than 30. What is the value of p? For this one, we have to notice that 2 times is 7 times greater than 30, but it says p% greater, so it's not asking p% of, right? If it asks p% of, and you'll see 100% of 30 is just 30, right? But it asks for greater, and Desmos doesn't have a way of looking at this, but what you have to realize is 100% greater than 30 is 60, it would be double. So 700% of 30 would be 210, right? But it's greater than, so in the end it would be 600%, right? It would be 600% greater than 30, so our value of p is 600, and that's our final answer. So with that, the video has come to an end. If you enjoyed all the solutions, please subscribe, please leave a like. Let me know if you need me to elaborate more on some of these. I'd love to respond if you do need help. And yeah, thank you for watching.